Well, hello, Gobby Gaffer again, doing another tutorial on Football Manager 2023. If you've not watched the series so far, I'll put a link up here for you, and you can start watching it from the beginning. So up to now, we've actually done, buying the game from brand new, loading it on, how we do all of that, basically a setup guide. And then the second video was on staffing, so that includes all of your coaches and managers and scouts, all of that kind of stuff. The third one was on scouting, so how to set all your scouting system up. The fourth video was on tactics, so that's setting up a tactic from scratch and how to go about, organising your players within that tactic. And today we're going to have a video on training. Now, training is it's another one of those things. I've said it many times before. That quite a lot of Football Manager, you can just click a button, get somebody else to do it, and you just basically deal with watching the games and watching the score lines. And if that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. Myself personally, I like to try and get involved. I mean, I have to say, okay, let's qualify that. When I very first started playing Football Manager, I found it quite daunting, very complicated, and I did click those buttons. I was one of those button clickers. Oh, can't be bothered with training. By default, the game will actually set up a training regime for you. Oh, that's great because I don't really understand it. Click the button. Yep, do that, do that, do that. But as I kind of got into the game, and I'm sure a lot of you were the same, the more you play the game, the more you want to get involved, the more you want to know about, all of the systems that are in place and what's going on in the background. And you want to get involved in that. You want to start, instead of clicking buttons, you want to go into it and start clicking the buttons that matter, the ones that mean that you're making the decisions. And over time, that's what I've done. And, I will freely admit, I'm still not, an expert at the game. There are still one or two areas of the game that I'm still learning. But what these videos are all about, I hope, they're coming across as simple, helpful videos. Some tuition videos you see on the Football Manager can be quite complicated and complex, and I hope mine are a little bit easier to understand from a beginner's point of view, if you will. Obviously, if you've been playing the game for 3, 4, 5 years, then you probably know everything that I'm talking about. But if you've just started, or this is maybe you had Football Manager 2022, got used to the game, now you're into FM23, and you're thinking, I want to get more involved. Hopefully these videos will help you. So, like I say, today we're going to have a look at training, and it's a very interesting thing to get involved in. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to go over to the staff button, click on that, and in here. This is your coaching team. Obviously, we're doing training today, so this is your coaching team. If you've not seen any other of my tuition videos, there are 3 sections in here. There's one for recruitment team, there's one for medical team. But today we're doing training, so we're on the coaching team section. And in there, we can see we've got a manager, that's Gobby Gaffer, assistant manager, head of youth development, head performance analyst. Now in this save, today I'm not using the Curzon Ashton save, I'm using my AFC filed save because it's a lot more relevant to what we're talking about. For some odd reason, it does seem as though I did ask for more coaches, and I'm sure at some stage the board said, yep, you can have 10 coaches. So I went out and hired 10 coaches. But it looks like they've nerfed that a bit and they've dropped it down to 8. But anyway, so we've still got 10 coaches. Nobody seems to be whinging. We'll just get on with it. And we've got a performance analyst as well. Like I say, I've mentioned this before in previous videos. All these lines here, this bar chart wants to be fully to the top. Because as you can see, as we scan across there, we are the best in Sky Bet League 2, which is where we are now. On the coaching side, we're number 1 for everything, and that ideally that's where you want to be. It's not always possible because sometimes you might go in for an attacking tactical coach and there's nobody available, or the ones that are available and you would do a really good job for you, you click into contract and they want £2,000 a week, and your board will only allow you to have coaches £1,000 a week. So you have to walk away and you can't have them. But I've been, I do a lot of work behind the scenes on my staffing because I think it's really important. So if there's a point in time where I go in for a coach and I want a specific coach and he's not there, try again a few weeks later, And also, if you're under your limit for coaches, let's say we only had 7 out of 8 coaches, you will get prompted in your emails and it will say, we are allowed another coach, and here's some people who would like to, who would like the job. So you can have a look at those. More often than not, they're not the greatest when they come to you. That it's better if you go to them. But then be aware they probably want wages that you can't afford. Doesn't always happen like that. Anyway, stop waffling. So we've come in here and we've had a look. Yes, okay, we're allowed 8 coaches. We've actually got 10, but we've got a full roster of coaches. Fine. So if we then come down to the training button, I have shown these things before briefly in other tuition videos. So we come to training, we go to coaches, and then we go to edit coach assignments. And in here, you will see coach responsibilities. So you will see what each one of your coaches is actually doing, their star rating, the capabilities, and all of that kind of thing. So you can see AFC file, I've got 2 goalkeeping coaches. And as you hover over them, if you look down at the bottom along here, so you'll see that Craig Wright is a 13 for shot stopping, 11 for handling, 11 for distribution. All these scores are out of 20. So he's kind of middle for diddle, maybe slightly above average. Look at the next one. He's 12s across the board. Again, slightly above average. Fitness coaches. So we come over to the other side now along the bottom here, and we've got to the fitness coach, and that tells you that Michael Moffat is a 14 for fitness. I have 2 fitness coaches. He's a 15 for fitness. So, on a rating, my fitness coaches are slightly better than my goalkeeping coaches. When it gets more complicated, so if we come down to Karen Toner, for instance, he is 11 for attacking, 12 for defensive, 11 for mental, and 11 for technical. Now, you want these numbers to be as high as possible. So if we look at his highest rating there is a defensive coach, and his technical and tactical are 11 and 10. So if we come across here and we see what he's actually training. Now, I've got him doing a little bit of everything there. Things that he's kind of fairly average at doing, but I've got him doing a little bit of everything. If we click this button here that's got the tick on it, that will take him off doing that. So basically, this is another one of those things where get a cup of coffee, have a sit, think about it, and just run down all of your coach and make sure that they're coaching in their specialised area. Sometimes you might want to, if they're a kind of average across the board, you can have them doing quite a few things. Because the thing you need to be aware of is along here, we've got light, average, 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 light. You don't want any of those to become heavy. So if one of your coach categories is heavy, that means you're not getting the best out of your coaching. So you want to drop somebody else in there. I mean, it may well be that I've got 2 dedicated fitness coaches. If one of these was heavy, I might want to drop, say, Stuart Downing in there. He's only a 4 for fitness. I mean, if we look down a little bit further, so the under 21s fitness coach is a 12. So he's already doing some there. So you can see what I'm talking about. Basically, juggle these things around so that you get a good balance in there. And obviously, these star ratings are out of 5. So as you can see at the moment, my AFC file team are being trained. The goalkeeping handling is 2.5, which is a little bit light. So potentially I maybe would want to, I mean, you see, here's a good example. So John Keeley, if I say, right, let's put John Keeley on goalkeeping handling as well, you see what happens to the shot stopping. So the shot stopping's dropped to 2.5 as well now. So I would rather have kind of an average figure in the handling, but a decent in shot stopping. And all of these figures here are all really important, and you need to make sure you're as near to 5 stars as you can. AFC file, Sky Bet League 2, it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that. If you're a top Premier League side, you'll probably have all of these at 4.5. Some categories will be 5. And another thing to bear in mind, which is quite an interesting tip, is if you've got an under-21s team, make sure it's staffed up fully for coaches, assistant manager, coaches, goalkeeping coaches, because the under-21s coaches will count towards your first team coaches. So as you can see in here, I've got Neil Reeves, the under-21 goalkeeping coach. Stuart Downing is the under-21s manager. They're all in there doing a job for my first team, which really helps. Believe me, it really helps. Particularly if you're, a lower league club, or like a Sky Bet League 2, Sky Bet League 1 team, where, like I said before, you're going in and trying to hire coaches, but they're coming back with ridiculous wage demands and you can't get them. So you're having to settle for a coach who is not maybe at the top of his game. If you're hiring under-21s coaches as well, I mean, be aware they won't be as good as your first team coaches, but you can spread the load. And that comes back to this light average. If you've got any of these that are on heavy, your under-21s coaches can drop in there and do a bit of coaching and help that category out. So then it goes from heavy down to average or even light. So just be aware of that. This is a really important page. You can click a button and ask the assistant to assign. So that's an easy fix. Just click that, let him do it. I like to do it myself. I'm not saying that this is absolutely perfect at the moment, but it's one of those things over time, maybe every month or so, just keep dropping back in here. Just have a look at the coach workload and make sure it's all still okay. And just make sure that you're not over on your coach workload. And if it is, just readjust it a little bit. It may well be that I don't hire my under-18s and under-21s coaches. I let my director of football, assistant manager, whatever, I let them do that. So now and again, you will get an email that says, the director of football, assistant manager, whoever's dealing with that, has hired a new under-21s coach. And that could be goalkeeping, it could be fitness, blah, 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 blah. Once that's been done and you accept that, you then need to come back in here because you'll have an extra coach at your disposal. And if you've got these coach workloads average there, I mean, that's fine. But if you want to drop them down to light, then you could use that under-18s coach in here somewhere. So I think you get my drift. You basically, you can scroll down, you can see what the coach's attributes are, what they're good at. Another little helpful tip is the possession, tactical and technical. Possession, read mental. So if we go down, for instance, to Kieran Toner, we along the bottom, you can see that his attributes have come up. So he is an 11 for mental coaching, which is possession. And then let's say, for instance, we wanted him to teach or coach mental technical. So we look down there. He's an 11 for mental and he's 11 for technical. Tactical is a point less. But again, another little tip, possession is the mental. Attacking and defensive speaks for itself, but mental is possession. Now then, the training side of the game can be quite. I mean, I left training alone for quite a long time, and then I started looking at YouTube tutorials on training where people were saying use this training regime. It's absolutely brilliant. 1 match a week, 2 matches a week, no matches in a week. and you can download them, off their save. Basically, they'll give you the file. You can download them and integrate them into your game. What I've found over time is that a lot of those training systems can be quite specific. So let me just show you. So we're on the training button, and we'll go to calendar. Click on calendar, and this shows you per week what training you're doing in that week. So if we go up to here, and let's click a new month. Let's click November. Right, so in November, I've not touched this yet. So, well, actually I have. I've done the first week there. When I first started playing the game, now let me tell you a little bit of the background to my tactical setups. I always do a clean slate. I've got kind of very used to the tactical system. So when I showed you the tactics in the last video, I was saying, right, get a thumbs up on a tactic, use that. You get a thumbs up on a formation, use that. And it's a good rule of thumb. Once you get used to the game, you might want to say, right, well, okay, fine, but doesn't quite fit the way I want my team to play. So I always do a clean slate and set it up from scratch. When I got to play the game and I was doing a clean slate setup, I thought, right, okay then, I need a clean slate training system as well. And I came in here and I looked, okay, so for this week, training style balanced, training style possession, training style tactical, training style balanced. Very often in here, you can get training style tiki-taka. So I've just as an example for this, I've just gone up a month. So I'm in December's training schedule now. And you can see in there that, it's balanced tactical, balanced attack, technique. But all of a sudden, there's a week there where we're doing vertical tiki-taka. And initially I thought, if I'm not playing that style, why do I need to train that? But what I think I've learned over time is that, okay, vertical tiki-taka, but it does teach my players, and it teaches the team some different play moves. It teaches a different, for instance, attacking shadow play, defending engaged, play from the back, transition press. You might not get those in a balanced training style or an attacking training style. It gives you players an overall training system. And I'm quite happy with that because, if my players are training every week and they're just doing, the same thing over and over again, it's not teaching them other skills, is it really? So having said all of that, what I have decided for myself, and this is only a personal thing, and I've found that it does work quite well, is that I will use the AI setup training system, but I'll tweak it. Don't tweak it a lot. Right, so let's take this first week here as an example. This is the first week in December. So the Monday we're doing defending, attacking, and then a rest period. There's three training stints in a day. Tuesday we're doing outfield, rest, match preview, because we've got a game on the Wednesday, Rochdale. Now, one thing with Football Manager, well, two things actually. One is player fatigue and tiredness, and two is the morale of the players. I'll come on to that in a second. If we just deal with the tiredness and the fatigue, if you think that we're training the day before a game, I don't really like that. So what I would normally do is, if I right click on outfield, go down to physical and put a rest period in there. So the day before the game, we've got 2 rest periods. We've got a match preview, which is, me kind of saying to the team, right, this is how they're going to play, blah, 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 blah. The Wednesday, we've got a rest period. We've got the game, very intensive. Then we've got a rest period. And the day after, we've got a recovery session, which you always should have in there, because that's like a warm down period, if you will. And then we've got 2 more rest periods. And then Friday, we've got overall rest, match preview, and then we've got Northampton. So every time we have a game, I go into the day before and I always put 2 rest periods in there. A recovery, 2 rest periods after. Match preview in there. Always do that. So the next week we can see we're doing tactical style, a vertical tiki-taka. That's fine because it's going to teach my players some extra little skills and abilities. We've only got 1 game that week, so fine, we'll leave all of these in there. The attacking patience we'll take out, down to physical, rest. So we've got 2 rest periods, match preview, travel, Colchester, travel, recovery, rest, rest. That basically gives your players a rest period before the game, rest periods and a recovery after the game. And that way, I found it the best way to keep your players. I mean, some professional players on YouTube will give players 2 days rest before a game. If you're in a hectic period, let's say you're with a Premier League club and you're in the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Premier League and a European game or a European league, then you're playing a lot of games. You're more or less playing, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday or Wednesday and Saturday, like every week. And it can be a bit like that in the lower leagues as well. If you're in the FA Cup, maybe still in the FA Trophy or the Papa John's or whatever, you've got league. You see what I'm saying? Too much training can be a bad thing. So you need to give your players some rest. And I think doing this the way I do it is a good balance. You're still getting training in there, but you're having some good rest periods as well. So moving on now to morale. Now, if we just come out of this for a second, if we go to the dynamics button over here, click dynamics and go to happiness. Right. So this first column here, ideally, for your team to be playing well and be cohesive and all enjoying the football and gelling, you want all of these to be very good, excellent, exceptional, all of that kind. Now, you can see in here, I've got Aaron Bolger, who's on fair. He's not going to play great. I've got Charlie Brown, who's on fair. He's not going to play great. Conor McDermott's on fairly poor. He's definitely not going to play great. So you want all of this to be as high as it can. Very good, excellent, exceptional, all of that kind of thing. And one of the main ways you can do that in Football Manager, so if we go back to training again, and we go back to the calendar, and we go back to the December screen that we're on. So this is already set in stone now. I've already done all of this. But what I like to do is I like to throw in every week a team bonding session. And what team bonding will do is it will increase your players' happiness. It won't happen immediately, but over time it will. So what I like to do is, let's say, so we're playing 2 games that week. So in here, this rest period on the Thursday, I like to put in extracurricular team bonding. And I'll do that every week. Extracurricular team bonding. Extracurricular team bonding. I like to do that every single week. So if you're finding that having a team bonding session every week, most of the time it will work for you. Over a period, it will work. If you're finding that your team's on a little bit of a downward spiral and the happiness is still not coming up as much as you would like, you can throw another extracurricular session in there. So, for instance, here we would do rest, extracurricular, and you can do a community outreach as well. So in that particular week, we're doing a community outreach, which will help with the dynamics and happiness, and we're doing a team bonding, which will help with the dynamics and happiness. So basically, those are the changes that I make. I also keep an eye on match tactics and match practice, because I think those are quite important as well. Now, some of the training styles will have them in there by default, other ones won't. So if you're doing like a balanced, there's no match tactics or match practice. So keep an eye on that. If you're doing this, say, month by month, come in here, have a look. If you've got no match tactics or match practice sessions in there, just stick one in. let's say we go to this one here. I mean, where would we do it? Let's go on to the Monday. So we click the rest button, right click it, go to match preparation, and we could stick in there a match practice. I wouldn't really do that because that would be giving us 3 training sessions in one day on a Monday after having played at the weekend. But that's up to you to just have a look what you're playing. Don't have it, don't have it too heavy orientated on any day, but just now and again stick a match practice, match tactics in there. Otherwise, I found you can leave it alone. So you're basically doing decent rest periods, you're putting a team bonding session in there every week, maybe now and again a community outreach if you want to, increase your players' happiness, and make sure that maybe once a month or thereabouts you've got a match practice, match tactics. I mean, I wouldn't want that in there, so I'm going to come out and take that out. I'm going to do a rest period in there instead. But it gives you an idea of how to set this up. You don't need to be super duper knowledgeable if you want to go further. And likewise, if you want to see what that training session is giving you, if you left click it, then you get this box comes up. So basically this is telling you that the transition press, the primary focus is attacking, secondary focus is defensive, and the third focus is on goalkeeping. And it shows you down here what what this session will give your team, and it also shows you up here the intensity that training session is giving you. So for instance, on the Monday, you're getting kind of a 50% intensity level. On the Tuesday, that's quite a low. So basically, the injury risk is kind of reduced. I mean, you can see the difference on a game day where the intensity is full on and your injury risk and everything is like full blown. Obviously, on this day here, when we're doing 2 rest periods and a match preview, the injury risk is normal because we're not really doing very much. Same with the recovery day. So if you left click on any of these, if we just cancel out, if you left click on any of these boxes, attacking shadow play for instance, it tells you in there what it's doing. And as you get more involved with the game, you might want to go in there and say, right, well, okay, but my defence is not playing very well. I want some more defensive training. So you could change that in there. You could right click it, change it some defensive training if you want. But this is the whole thing about the way that I do it, because generally you will get a fairly balanced training setup doing it like this, albeit you're adding in team bonding sessions and try and get some match tactics and match practice in there. So from this screen we can also do individual training, because all of this is all team training. So if we click on the individual button at the top there, so if we go to Kokori, the young centre back that we've got, and we left click this tick button here, it will actually bring up then his role. So his position, role and duty is mixed. We can go in there, we can change that to whatever we want really. If we want him to let's say he's a right fullback, but he can also play centre back, and we need him to play centre back more than right back, we can go in here and train him to be that. So for instance, we would come down to defender, central defender and defend. So now he's being trained as a central defender defending. Additional focus, we can come down to that. So we can now give him some extra training in an area that we think. So let's say we wanted, let's say his stats for positioning weren't as good as we wanted them to be. We could come down to defensive positioning, click on that, and now he's going to be trained in positioning. And there was 1 or 2 other things in there as well. And if we hover over that, that tells us that that's going to train him, give him extra training in marking, positioning and decisions. So once that's ticked, he's now been retrained to be a central defender defending. He's getting extra training on defensive positioning, and you can also set the intensity level. So depending on his level of fitness and the amount of games that he's playing, you can set it to double intensity, normal intensity, half intensity, no pitch or gym work. If he's had an injury, he's coming back from injury. So all of these things can all be set. You can also do weaker foot training. You know, if he's got a weak foot, you want to increase that. That's in there as well. And you can do that for every single player. So if we take him out and then we go down to, let's go down to a striker. Let's do Casada Thorn. So he's injured at the moment. But let's say we wanted him to be more of a wing back than a left winger. So we could come in here when we could do wing back left attacking duties. So he's a wing back on attacking duties now. Additional focus. You know, we might want him a little bit quicker. So we could do all of that. So you can, you know, it's self-explanatory, but it's just knowing where these buttons are and what to click. And that's all to do with individual training. Now, another really good tip, and this is quite important actually, it was a tip that was given to me by one of the people who follow me on YouTube. Basically, you want your first 11 players to be in the best of shape. If you want all your players to be in really good shape, that is indicated by match sharpness here. So you look down here and you can see all my first team have all got a green thumbs up and they're all fully match fit. If we scroll down here, let's say for instance Harry Davis, he's gaining sharpness. So the way I'm doing that, the way I'm gaining sharpness with him, is basically if you hover over the player and right click and go to squad, available for the under 21s and available for the under 21s until match fit 90 minutes. I've already done that for him because Harry Davis he's actually one of my team leaders, although he's not in the team permanently now. At this moment in time, I brought 2 young centre-backs in who are better than him. But I want him there to be a good backup or to come on and team lead. You know, maybe if I'm in a game where I'm losing 1-0, I want somebody on the pitch who's going to do a bit of shouting and bawling and solidify the defence, then I maybe want to bring him on. It's no good bringing him on if his sharpness is in the red, which it can be. At the moment, I don't have anybody in the red because I'm using this system of all the players that I know that I'm going to use, I put them on under 21s availability. Just until the match fit. Don't send them there permanently unless you've fallen out with them or you don't like them. But just do it until the match fit and keep an eye on this because believe me, it makes a big difference. If you've got 11 players on the pitch who are all brilliant, match fit, match sharpness, excellent, and I don't know, let's say you're 1-0 up in a game and you get to the 65th minute and you think, I don't know whether we're going to score another goal, but we don't want to let one in, and you want to change your 2 centre-halves because they're getting a bit tired, and you bring 2 on, have got no match sharpness whatsoever, the chances of conceding a goal then is going to be quite high. Whereas if you've done what I've just said and keep their match sharpness up high, you're bringing 2 players on who are ready to go. Bring 2 players on, they're fully fit, they can slot into the game straight away, they're not going to have to get to the pace of the game or anything. Same with strikers. I mean, it applies all over the pitch. If you've got, let's say, let's say you're losing 1-0 and your striker is on a 6.2 and you're thinking, not having a good game today. What can we do about that? Well, we've got a striker on the bench who, has been scoring fairly regular when he's come on. We'll bring him on. But his sharpness is in the red. The chances are he ain't going to score. If he's fully match fit and sharp, he's coming on, he's ready to go. He might just bang a goal in for you and get you a point or even 3. So I think that's a really good tip. And like I say, that was given to me. And it keeps, like I say, at the moment, I'm doing that. And there's still a little bit of work to do there. Like I say, with Harry Davis, he's gaining fitness. But eventually, when you come to the player status information, it will tell you in here, there's a button there. You U21, that means he's been made available for filed under 21s. Same with Harry Davies, same with Obi, same with Ackers, the goalkeeper. Charlie Wellens, I've got quite a few of them doing that. So they're playing in the under 21s, gaining the match fitness, and then they're ready for me to go on the subs bench or even start a game. And I think that's a really, really good tip. And lastly, always keep an eye on your coaches, because none of what I've just said will work if your coaches are substandard. So you need to keep an eye on it. Go to the staff button, go to this little chevron next to the coaching team, and just keep an eye on there. So, for instance, at the moment, I've got Karen Toner, who is a fairly average coach, but if you notice, he's on a month-to-month contract. If you look there, Karen Toner, Lee Wallace and Craig Wright are all on month-to-month contracts. So at any point through this season now, I can fire them off, no compensation, doesn't cost the club anything. The reason I've not done it is what I was saying before. I'm actually on the lookout for better coaches at the moment. But the better coaches, I think the board have set a ceiling for me of about £1,000 a week, I think it is, for a coach. That's the most they're willing to pay. Now, again, going back to previous tuition videos I've made. So if we're going to Club Vision, go to make a board request, go down to staff, and in here, we can actually ask to increase the coach's wages. So again, keep an eye on all of this. Make sure that you're asking regularly for more coaches, more scouts, more wages for those areas if you need it. I mean, don't be asking all the time if you don't need it, but it's a good place to come to ask for more coach wages, for instance, which I probably could do with at the moment. I've just identified a coach, and he looked brilliant for what I wanted. I was really narrowing it down, so I wanted a defensive technical coach. And he fit the bill brilliantly. Went in to sign him. He was a free agent. Went in to sign him. He wanted £2,000 a week. So immediately it comes up with a red bar. I can't have him. And if you try and take that, if you try and offer him less, that will drop to 1,000 because it's the most the board will allow you. Well, he's never going to drop his wage demands by a half. So at the end of the day, couldn't get him. And at the moment, there are no coaches around who would actually better my coaching staff. So just keep going back in there, maybe every month, and have another look. See, there might be a coach who's been fired off or his contract's run out. Could be a free agent, and he might be wanting a lot less. He might be exactly what you want, and he only wants £850 a week. Job's a good one. He's a free agent, the chances are you're going to get him. You can actually, when you go into the staff search screen, there will be coaches in there employed by other clubs, and you can actually offer them a contract, but be aware you'll have compensation to pay. So depending what your finances are like. And the chances are, a good 60% of the time, if you go in there and offer a coach what you think is really good money, the parent club will come in and offer them more, so they'll end up staying with the parent club and still won't come to you. So, and one very, very last thing, keep an eye on your schedule. So click on the schedule button. This tells you all the upcoming games and when they are. If you get a free week where you've no game on at all, maybe you've been knocked out of the cup, or you've just got a free week and you've no games on at all, to keep your players fresh, what you can do is put a friendly in there. So you can see here, we had a free week. So we played Salford on the 8th of October. And the next game is Doncaster on the 19th of October. So we had a free week. So I dropped a friendly in there against Ards. We won it 3-0, and it gives the players a little bit of game time. You can also bring in some of the youth players or reserve team players to give them a little bit of a run out. And the way you do that is you go to this button at the bottom. Can you see that? No, my big head's in the way. But where it says arrange friendly, if you click on arrange friendly, you get a calendar comes up. So, I mean, I'm not going to do this because we don't need it, but let's say, for instance, just as an example, 14th of November, we click the radio button there and then come over to this side, and it's saying we want to pick a team to play a friendly on that day. So we click the drop down box, and then it's up to you. There's lots of larger reputation teams. So these are teams that are better than you. I generally go for smaller reputation teams, or even very small reputation teams, because what you've got to be a little bit careful of is it's all very well giving your players a run out, but if you play a larger reputation team and get beat 6-0, then that's going to affect your morale and your dynamics. So just be a little bit careful with that. The best thing to do is either play a smaller or very small reputation team. You can do foreign teams as well. And basically then you just come across, so we've done odds. It actually tells you in there as well the money that's available for that game. So this is a kind of a good way. If you're with a very, very lowly team and it's pre-season, you could come in here and play 6 friendlies before at the beginning of a season, larger teams who are, if we just click on the large teams, so you can see in there we're getting triple the amount of money for those games. And if you're a very lowly team and you play 6 of those games, that could bring you in on these figures like £40,000, and to a lowly team that could be a lot of money. So that's another way of kind of you're playing friendlies, you're getting your fitness up, we're also getting a little bit of money in as well. But through the season, I would always go for a smaller reputation or very small reputation team, because the chances are you're going to beat them. So it does 2 things: it keeps your dynamics and your happiness up, and it also keeps your players' fitness at an optimum level. And also, a third good point is you can bring your youth team players in, your reserve team players. If you wanted to have a look at a new young goalkeeper that you know has come through, you could put him in goal, see how what kind of rating he gets at the end of the game. You know, maybe a 17-year-old striker who's looking really promising, you could stick him in there and look at his rating at the end of the game. So that's just another final little tip that I'm going to give you on training, player fitness, player dynamics. And I'm not saying that my way is the only way to go. Like I've said many times before, watch plenty of tutorials, get a good balance. There's plenty of knowledgeable people out there who are producing videos that are more complex than mine. But like I said at the beginning, my videos really are intended for not necessarily beginners, but like beginners to intermediate players who are wanting to expand their knowledge on the game and just what does this button do? If I click this button, don't really understand that. So my videos are intended for that. Not too intense, hopefully not too intense, but just to give you a little bit more background. And if you want to start doing a little bit more with your football manager and have the pride at the end of the day that the training schedule that you've set up, the staff that you've brought in, the scouting that you've set up, if that starts paying dividends and you're winning leagues and winning trophies, I've done that. AFC filed. I've done back-to-back promotions. I've won the FA Trophy 2 seasons on the trot. So what I'm doing is working for me. I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody, but it works for me. Anyway, I think that's enough waffling today about training. I hope you found it helpful. It would be great if you like what you see, if you could subscribe, give me a like. If you want to make any comments, the algorithms of YouTube love the comment section. The more comments that you get, the better. So if you want to make any comments, you might want to say that's been really helpful. You might want to say, yeah, I know all that already. It was a waste of time. It's fair comment, isn't it? So subscribe, like, give us a bit of a comment, all of that kind of stuff really helps my channel. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there for today. There will be more tuition videos coming along. Not quite sure at this moment in time what they're going to be, but rest assured there will be more. Anyway, Gobby Gaffer signing out on a training video. We'll see you very, very soon.